Okay, cool. Well, thanks for having me. You're wearing a Cure shirt.
Yes, I once
Shirt short.
once I was like, because I've been meaning to interview actually for I think quite a while now. I think you had a show in October. I think.
Yes.
Yeah, I was planning on trying to get an interview with you around that time. So I already like had imagined that when I did interview, I'd wear the Cure shirt because like it's kind of like that, like the Nardwuar thing of it all. But I'm a fan too. Yeah. But
Nardwuar, what a great reference.
Right.
What a crazy guy. Yeah, I was gonna wear, I have the exact same shirt. I was gonna wear it, but I already have him in the background, so I didn't want to look like a crazy super fan, you know? Yeah. Although I am, but it's fine.
But yeah, before we begin, like, how are you doing? Like, I know we're both in.
Yeah. I'm doing well, you know, like I was just saying, like, I know isolation and stuff, it's a really, really weird time right now. I never really thought that there would be a moment where I'd be like literally like we take everything for granted, you know, like even just walking outside. Yeah. So I've definitely just been, you know, trying to keep sane, I guess, for the most part.
Yeah, because we've never really lived in a world where concerts was not like
yeah, I mean on that front, that's
and as well, yeah.
I think that, you know, live music is something that we never thought would be taken away from us, like live entertainment, even sports. And now it's something that we all are realizing we took for granted. Like even myself as an artist, like, you know, I love performing live. Performing live is what I love to do. So it's been crazy, but there's bigger problems in the world, I keep telling myself, and we'll get back to it soon, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, to introduce myself, my name is Jabril. Created a platform called Studio One way back in November. We released our first interview with Muna. The idea is to interview international artists across Canada, but more importantly, you know, acts like yourself in Toronto to highlight people in the city. So I've written for Clash and 405 and things like that.
Nice.
But I've always felt like in our city in Toronto, there's not like a media thing that I want to see. You know, like the way that I'm doing it now, just conversations and things. So
yeah,
to get you on is amazing. Been meaning to.
Oh, for having me, man. Honestly, like this is a pleasure for me. So yeah.
So before we begin, can you just briefly introduce yourself, and then we'll just get started.
Yeah. So my name is GRAE, GRAE, and I am an artist, a singer-songwriter from Toronto.
Cool. So I know you started writing at 10, and you wrote your first song in the Notebook. But before we get into that, talk about artists that you grew up listening to. I know The Cure is one of them, and what you've learned, what you learned from, you know, becoming a fan of music before you really decided to become an artist yourself.
Right. So I grew up listening to a majority, well, if not all, of the music that my dad grew up listening to. So like Supertramp, Elton John, Depeche Mode, Joy Division, New Order, all those types of like music, I guess, like Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd. So like 70s rock, 80s new wave, I would say. And when I was like a little girl, like around 6, I listened to Janet Jackson's Rhythm Nation for the first time. And I always credit that back to the moment where I became obsessed with an artist, because I had the CD in my hand, and I would like walk around and beg my parents to play it. And I loved it so much, and you know, Janet's definitely an influence of mine. Music, I really just fell into it naturally. I'd say it was one of those things where like I listened to it, and I was always singing around the house trying to mimic the artist that I was listening to. So like Norah Jones, Corinne Bailey Rae, those types of artists, I would always like sing their songs, cover their songs in talent shows and stuff like that. And it was around the age of, well, going back a bit further, actually, I don't know how much detail we want to go, but when I was around 6, my brother gave me like a toy piano. And there was a lot going on in my household at the time, you know, a lot for like a child to deal with. And my brother gave me this little piano and was like, whenever you feel like you want to get emotions out, use this. Yeah. I also credit that back to a moment in time where I understood what music could do for me. It was like a release. And then at the age of 10, my dad got me my first guitar. It was like a purple guitar from like this pawn shop in some random little place that we stopped in. And ever since then, I've been writing. And I used to write songs about my pets, about guys at like 10. Like, it's so weird to think about. Like, I don't know what relationship problems I was having at that, but and yeah, that's kind of where it all started. I wrote my first song at the top of a bed at camp, and that was kind of it.
Yeah. And what do you think, as you got older, what do you think was more easier for you as an artist? Was it like performing and doing shows, or because writing for you is a release and therapeutic, do you think that was kind of an easier way? Like, before you would eventually release your first EP and your first single, things like that, what were like the, I guess, growing pains of really like navigating?
I would say just learning to become a better writer was like a major one. Like, I would write, but my songs, definitely weren't the strongest. And that's something that you learn. Like, once you're in it, you're around so many talented people, and like you kind of learn the ropes. But yeah, I guess just I don't really know like what another like growing pain or what it would be, but yeah.
Did you
just becoming a better version of yourself as an artist, I guess, is always something. You're always growing.
Did you ever look at the writing process as something that was kind of nerve-wracking? Because I know, writing honestly and in a vulnerable way. Did you ever look at, especially when you would eventually release, your first single, an EP, and especially the writing of your music is based on your own life experiences. How did you view it when you first released that EP and releasing music in general? Was it cathartic, I guess, or were you nervous how it would be like interpreted? How was that?
Right. So my first EP, honestly, I had nothing when I recorded it. It was just me and my producer. I didn't even have my manager yet. I had nothing. I had me and my Instagram account that I would post 15-second covers on, and that process came very, very naturally to me, actually, and I had no expectations for it. I wasn't nervous. I just knew that I needed to hold on to the body of work until I had a manager, until I had, those connections, because I believed in the art so much that I was like, there's no way I just want to like put this, on YouTube and just see what happens. Like, I wanted it to be strategic, and so that process was really natural for me. As far as writing goes, the first EP was very honest. I think I came out with a very honest and upfront version of myself in that EP, which wasn't the easiest decision to make. There is a song on there that's very, very like personal to me and my family, and that wasn't the easiest to release, but I think that the reason why I did it was because I did it in hopes of someone being able to relate, because there's some heavy topics on there about my childhood and stuff like that. So I just released it in hopes of, one, for healing for myself, getting those emotions out, and for two, I know that mental health is a thing.
Yeah.
It's a thing, and we need to talk about it, and addiction is a thing, and we need to talk about it, and that's why I released it.
Yeah. And especially, I know we're going to move forward and talk about the new EP, but the track Women's Worlds, and, given everything that's going on in the world, talk to me about the importance of like having a platform and having a voice, and that's why I kind of touched upon the honesty in music and how you kind of navigated that. Talk to me about that record, and again, on the note of using your voice and your experiences to have people that listen to your music and hope that they can relate and things like that.
Right. So Woman's World was written because my friend and I, we were walking on the streets at night, and we were just getting like harassed by people. Like, and if we would tell them to stop, they would then like start swearing at us and going off at us. And I started telling female friends about it, and they're like, oh yeah, that's just like normal. And I was like, normal? Like, why is this normal? This shouldn't be normalized. I feel like women, we normalize the harassment in which, it happens to us. And I got angry, and I was like, okay, I want to write a song that like empowers women to like not only share their stories, but like stand up for yourself as well without, just trying to normalize the topic, because society as a whole has, and very, very guilty of it. And so that track to me is just a female empowerment track of just our bodies are our bodies, and we have the rights to speak our minds and say what we want and stand up for ourselves, and not be looked down upon simply because of the fact that we are women. That's what that song is about.
For sure. And I know you've released singles en route to this new Permanent Maniac EP, and congratulations on that. And I know the video dropped as well. What have you, I guess, learned in this process? Because not from the perspective of how have you grown as an artist, but for yourself and your songwriting, how have you grown and what does this new body of work mean to you?
This new body of work means a lot to me. It was a major growth process. I feel like writing, obviously in general, you get to see little time capsules of yourself and where you were at specific moments in your life. And I find that very intriguing about the whole process, because my first EP is a time capsule to me. Those were relationships that are long gone, situations I no longer dwell on, things like that. And so this body of work was extremely therapeutic. It was just about getting over, a lot of the songs are about toxic relationships. I was in one and I'm, out of it now, but it was about like learning to be comfortable with myself and learning to tell people basically when to like F off, because I've had a difficult time in my life putting my foot down and being able to kind of just stand up for myself without feeling like I'm hurting that other person. So this EP was really just about growing as a woman and like learning to speak for myself and stay grounded and set my expectations high for myself. And yeah.
And how important was the visuals? Talk about the video that just released. How important for you as an artist are visuals and videos and getting out your idea? And because I know earlier you said you didn't want to just release music, you wanted strategy and you wanted the proper rollout. Talk about this rollout and the importance of that.
Right. So I would say visuals definitely play a major part. I think that it's always interesting to sit down and think of the music in as a video, as a piece of work that you watch, because we listen to it and we come up with our ideas in our head of what it may look like or what a video would be and stuff. So actually executing that is always amazing. I have a blast. Like my video for Permanent Maniac is everything I could have ever wanted it to be. I think it's just fun, like people want to look up and be able to kind of see who you are as an artist. And I think it's important to have that visual alongside to kind of give people the perspective of your vision. Because, being an artist, there's so many aspects to it. It's not just about writing and singing. There's a whole bunch of other things that we like to do. And videos and creating it is definitely a passion. I love it. I love it a lot.
Yeah. And I know with COVID and things like that, the idea of concerts isn't all that possible. But for you and your career so far, what have been some highlights in shows, and how have you grown as a performer? Was it something that you eased yourself into, or how has it been for you?
So I love performing. Like there's nothing better than being in front of a crowd of people that just genuinely enjoy live music. There's nothing like it. I've been, performing, when I was in grade school, I would perform at assemblies and stuff. I've always kind of had an itch to do that. So, being kind of thrown, when I got my manager and Lori and I started working together, kind of finally booking those gigs and moving forward in a more professional way was extremely exciting to me. And it's something that I miss immensely. As far as highlights go, the Mod Club show was a major highlight. I got to open for Ralph, and playing that stage was super cool, as a Toronto thing. It's definitely a cool little accomplishment. I opened for an artist called Benny. I think that's how you, Benny.
Yeah, she really,
and yeah, and I never know how to say it because she has a New Zealand accent. So I'm
Benny?
is it Beanie or is it
yeah.
Benny or? But that was, seeing her now having just blown up is insane. Because like when I opened for her, like I didn't even I didn't really know, and once I dived into her music, I was like, wow, like it's such an honor to be opening for her. But now having seen all the things she's done, it's crazy to look back on.
Yeah, and usually when I get to like near the end of interviews, I'd ask an artist, how's the rest of the year going? I would have asked you, you got to release this EP, how's it going to be, performing and things like that. So
right.
But instead of that, I'll just want to ask you. I know you're still premature in your career, and there's not a lot of body of work in your music.
Yeah.
So, but for you, like, what have you learned about yourself throughout this process so far, and what do you hope to gain in the horizon?
Right. I think I've learned to stop underestimating myself. That was something that I did a lot a couple of years ago. I wrote my first EP at 19, and I started thinking about it at 18. And when you're that age, you think you're so mature and you have things figured out. But looking back, I really didn't, and I had a lot of things to work through. And I think being in this industry, it really tests you to, be that better version of yourself, to always be thinking forward. And I think I've just grown a lot, like as a person. I've become more mindful of things happening around me, and I'm just striving to be the best artist that like I can be, and the most honest artist that I can be. And it's really cool to think that there are people out there that may listen to the music and resonate with it. It's definitely been a major growth experience and process for me, especially just getting a few years older, and now having released a body of work. It means something so much different to me than when I released at 19.
Yeah, and I know it might not be close or might be still in the distance, but another, way to finish off the interview is, how is it going to feel when you release your debut album? What would that? I know. It might not be on the horizon. I know you're still fresh on this EP, but for you, what would that feel like?
I'm a major fan of albums. I'm a major, major fan of them. I think that it's, you can really make something a story with an album. And I've been thinking about that. It's funny. I'm like, when can I make my album?
Yeah.
And we're in a very like singles driven market right now. So I definitely, that's definitely what a lot of artists are like focused on. But the moment I get to like just sit down and create an album, it's going to be absolutely amazing. I'm so excited, like so excited. It's just a whole different like ballgame, because you have so much more there, so much more content, and like so much more to write about and think over. And like I love albums that just take you from beginning, middle, and like a story. And that's what I would hope to do for sure.
And final question to make it full circle. Looking back on the writing book that you still have from when you were 10 and things like that, what's something you would tell your 10-year-old self from now?
My goodness. These types of questions always like get me. I would probably tell my 10-year-old self that she's right, that she's going to do music and to not care what anyone else is going to say, because there were a lot of people in my life who were just telling me that that's not something that is, attainable, and just like keep on going. And one day, you're going to release an EP, and the 10-year-old me would be like, what? I'm going to have music that I'm going to release for people to hear, when you're 10, that's crazy. So I would definitely just tell myself to keep going, because there's good things coming for her, so yeah.
Cool. Again, thank you so much for taking the time out for this conversation.
Thank you.
I can't wait to eventually see you live, and hopefully, back to in-person interviews. But
yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you for having me. Honestly, like it's been an absolute pleasure, and I absolutely hope to see you at a show whenever shows are a thing.
And again, congratulations on this new EP. Enjoy it.
Thank you so much.
Have a good rest of the day.
Yeah, you too. Bye. Thank you.
Studio One.